The phone woke me by spelling my name wrong. "Is this Evan Gable?" the woman asked, and I sat up in the kindest way so my bones wouldn't make noise. The digital clock said 6:14. Beside me, Nora's hair made a dark comma on the pillow. She breathed the calm of a person whose sentence has already been decided. "It's Evan Gable," I said. "Officer Lena Maynard, 2nd Precinct. I'm calling regarding a missing person report your wife filed at 2:07 a.m. I looked at Nora, as if the words would leave my mouth and hang in the air between us like steam, and she'd see them, read them, and laugh. She didn't move. "I'm here." "Do you have any aliases?" Maynard asked, the way nurses ask about allergies, routine and hopeful. "No." "Any reason your wife would believe you left suddenly?" She let the word "left" fall slowly. She supplied a list: work stress, recent arguments, an unresolved event. There it was, neutralized. Event. The night I did not come home on time, the name I didn't say, the throat apology I performed like a hobby. 6 weeks ago. Not forgiven, just refiled. "I'm home. I can put her on the phone." "Please don't wake her. She sounded distressed. We'll need you to come by with ID." I agreed like a person agreeing to a weather report. After we hung up, I sat with the phone in my hand and listened to our house make the sounds it makes when it believes you. The fridge breathed. The baseboard clicked. The old window conceded a draft. Nora rolled onto her back. Her hand found my wrist without opening her eyes and rested there, soft as a stamp. At 7, she sat up and stretched, not surprised to see me, not relieved. "You're up early," she said, and kissed me with the kind of kiss that leaves no data. "Did you call the police?" I asked. She smiled half a smile. "Did they call you?" "Nora..." Her eyes cleared. "I couldn't sleep. You were heavy. I listened for the door. It didn't sound." She shrugged. "I wanted someone to say your name out loud." "Missing?" "It gets people to move," she said gently. "You asked me to tell me what I needed." I didn't remember that request, but it sounded like something a man makes right after late forgiveness. Promises in a low voice, warm hand over warm hand. Nora slid off the bed like water and went to make coffee. When she returned, she set a mug down and said, "We should talk tonight. I have a thing." "What thing?" "A thing that you don't need to worry about," she said, and the sentence fit perfectly into the old argument, like a puzzle piece she'd been sanding for months. By 9, my bank app greeted me with a yellow ribbon. AC accounts flagged for inactivity abandonment check. I had transferred rent yesterday. At 10, my boss emailed, "Concerned friend says you quit. Clarify." At 11, our group chat, 10 years of jokes and calendar invites, lit up with a still frame of a highway camera, a sedan like mine leaving the city at 3:42 a.m. The caption read, "Evan?" My friend Marco added, "If you need a couch." Another bubble, "We're here for Nora." By noon, I had the distinct sensation of watching a clean sheet of paper being placed over my life and taped down at the corners.
How to prove you were there when everything says you weren't. The precinct smelled like disinfectant and coffee you drink to deserve better coffee. Officer Menard met me at the glass with a stack of forms and a small apology in her eyes. "Your ID matches," she said, when the copier spat my face onto paper. "But your wife had documentation." "What kind?" She slid a file across, Nora's handwriting, neat, precise. A timeline, 1:42 a.m. Evan leaves bed. 1:46, front door. 2:01, car starts. 2:07, call placed. Subheadings with attachments. A bank notification showing a $6 charge at a toll. A city camera still of a similar sedan. A screenshot from our hallway camera showing the front door opening onto a slice of night. "I didn't go anywhere," I said, finding the place in my voice where pleading isn't yet a whine. Menard watched me as if I were a sentence about to try a fancy verb. "Do you sleepwalk?" "No." "Phones can be mirrored. Cars can be borrowed. Cameras can be set to trick her." "Are you saying she—" "I'm saying you need your own list." I stepped out into noon as bright as the idea that everyone has receipts. A breeze peeled a flyer from a pole and stuck it to my leg. "Have you seen?" The missing face was a cat's. For the first time in hours, I laughed, and then immediately knew I shouldn't enjoy anything. At home, Nora's laptop sat open on the couch, like an invitation. The background was a photo of us smiling the way people smile when they need the picture to end something. On the desktop, a single folder named Housekeeping. Inside, subfolders labeled Bills, Repairs, Safety. In Safety, screenshots of our home app. The timeline with the front door icon opening at 1:46 a.m., no corresponding close. The camera thumbnail at 1:47, our doormat empty. Night, polite. The hallway camera showed a strip of floor and part of our mail slot. No bodies. Just proof that space existed at a time someone cared about. On the kitchen counter, a yellow sticky note leaned against the fruit bowl. "Dinner, 7:30. Before that, if he can, make a list of where you actually were 1 to 4 a.m. Love, Nora." I walked to the bedroom and pressed my palm into the mattress dent where my body had been. The indent held shape, then softened, then held again. I thought of plaster casts of footprints at crime scenes, proof of contact that fails to testify to intention. Where was I? I was under 10 pounds of blanket, beside the woman now assembling a dossier to prove I'd been somewhere else. I wrote 1:42, asleep. 2:07, asleep. 3:42, asleep. It looked like mockery of the form. I crumpled the paper and began again, adding the detail I wish counted: sweat, dream, turning, the smell of Nora's shampoo, and knew it wouldn't.
3. Group chats where you lose custody of yourself. The group chat tried to choose its loyalty and broke both of us. Is he okay? Nora, do you need anything? Evan, answer. Every message carried a small assumption that the person typed into their contacts as Evan might not be the man attached to this phone. Marco texted privately, "Dude, if this is about Lena and the aftershock, tell me now so I can triage." I typed, erased, and typed, "I didn't leave." He replied, which is different from "I didn't do the thing." "I didn't leave," I repeated and imagined him turning the sentence over to see if it could mean anything else. He sent a photo of us 3 summers ago, drunk on cheap fireworks and relief. "I'm here," he wrote, "but Nora's here too." At 2 p.m., HR emailed a form titled Separation Logistics. I filled my name and stopped at forwarding address. I typed same and received an automated reply, "System requires new address." I closed my laptop with the gentle rage of people who have learned that computers are just mirrors with better lighting. On Instagram, a tagged photo, a back of the head that might be mine, at a gas station. Caption: he bought 2 coffees and a map. The comments were kind in the way comments are kind for a few hours after something sad. Hope he's safe. Men do this. Men are gone before they leave. The last one got 200 likes. At 4:30, my mother called to say she had a casserole in the oven and a question in her throat. "Are you gone?" she asked. I told her no. She said softly, "Then say it where someone can hear you." I put my phone on the table like an instrument I hadn't practiced in years. I walked to the mirror and rehearsed the sentence aloud in a way that might impress a camera. "I am here." The mirror didn't disagree. It rarely does. 4. The architect of absence. We had agreed to dinner at 7:30. At 7:29, Nora's key turned with the soft certainty of people who lock their own doors. She hung her coat by the door, smoothed her hair, and set a paper bag on the table. The bag smelled like ginger and apology. "You went to the police," I said. She said, "I did. You were missing. I was 6 inches from your arms." She blew out a breath. That's a sentence I've lived with for 6 months. There it was, folded neatly and set between us. Lena. The bar in another neighborhood, the hallway with the mean lighting, the one-night truth I had tried to turn into an event you describe without verbs. "You did more than call," I said. I slid the printed screenshots across. The home app, the door timeline, the highway still. She looked at the papers as if they were my lines she had already memorized. She said, "I'm not trying to ruin you. I'm trying to make a shape big enough for your absence to fit inside." "I was in the bed. I have no receipts." She said, "You have me, or had. What do you want? To not feel crazy. To not be told that my body is wrong when it knows you're not in the room, even when your weight is." I could have said, "That's poetry, not proof." She could have replied, "Your affair was proof enough for poetry that hurts people." We didn't. She opened the paper bag and set out 2 boxes, then sat without touching them. "I made a list," I said, and handed her the paper. 3 lines, reading, "Asleep," with increasing desperation in the handwriting. She smiled in the saddest way. "That's how you've loved me this year, with good faith and no evidence." "Did you fake the door opening?" I asked. I heard the hope in fake and hated it. She said, "I recreated it. At 12:05, I opened and closed to warm the hinges." "Why?" "So the app would trust me later," she calmly said. "The sensors lag sometimes. I built the night you deserve to be asked about." "And the highway photo? The sedan is not ours, but it is a story you have told before." She watched me absorb the line. Then she added, gently, "I want a confession that isn't just the one night. I want the faithful inventory of all the ways you leave when you stay." I thought of Officer Menard saying, "You need your own list." I imagined returning the list to Nora like flowers you never water. I said, "What if I don't have cameras? Only words?" She said, "Then we're even." My words kept getting told to sit down. So I made pictures. She cleaned up without eating, placed a hand on my shoulder and said, "I'm staying at Sloan's. There's a meeting tomorrow, for us." "What kind of meeting?" She picked up her bag as if it were full of weather and paused at the door. "An accountable one."
5. The ex who doesn't want to be the plot twist. Rhea met me at a diner that carries 1,000 apologies in its coffee. She wasn't the affair. She was the decade-old complication that makes your current mistakes look hereditary. She said,
You look like a man someone turned into a PDF, flat and shareable. I said, Nora reported me missing. Rhea stirred sugar into her cup, even though she never takes sugar, a nervous ritual. Did you leave? I didn't. So what did you do? I lied, I said, and felt the relief of nouns. Not about where I slept last night, about capacity, about attention, about how much of me is available when the door closes. She nodded as if I'd described a common weather pattern. Nora always wanted to measure. You always wanted to interpret. I need something verifiable. A doorbell camera. A neighbor with a sleepless dog. Rhea looked through me to the street and back. You need to decide if you're trying to prove a night or a life. Nights are easy to edit. You think she's editing me. I think she's tired of being gaslit by verbs. You made stay look like something you do with your shoes. The waitress refilled our coffee and placed the check upside down like a secret. Rhea flipped it and said, I'll come to the meeting if you want a witness who doesn't like you enough to help you lie. I don't deserve you, she said. No one deserves their ex's best version, but it's often the only one available at short notice. On my way home, Marco texted a recording from his porch camera. 2:51 a.m., a fox. 3:07, a silhouetted figure jogging by. 3:42, a sedan, mine, rolling to the stop sign at the corner, idling 5 seconds, turning right. The license plate was mud obscured. My stomach folded into a chair. Looks like your car, Marco wrote. Keys were here, I replied. I was here. Both can be true, he wrote. Nora's brother has your spare from that camping trip. I stared at the screen until the words rearranged into an even worse sentence. Nora has more evidence than you.
The spare key lived in a plastic turtle in the garage. It had been there since Nora broke her wrist and needed me to be reachable without knocking. I went to check. The turtle was empty. In its place, a folded sticky note pressed into the dust. Don't worry about the copy, worry about the original, N. I didn't know whether to admire her craft or call time out. I took a photo of the empty turtle, then a photo of my face looking at it, then a photo of my shoes to prove the floor was the floor. At 11:40 p.m., insomnia and anger took a walk along our street. I sat on the hood of my car and waited for the man wearing me to return for the encore. At 12:19 a.m., a runner in black passed with the shy determination of people doing their penance. At 12:31, a couple argued 2 blocks over, their syllables cartwheeling down the asphalt. At 1:03, the street was a quiet show. At 1:40, a sedan twin to mine slowed at the stop sign. I slid from the hood the way cats pretend they always meant to. The sedan turned left. I followed at a distance, my pulse pacing itself as if the heart prefers procedural drama to confrontation. The other car took a lazy loop and returned toward the house, then idled across from our door. The driver wore my shape poorly, shoulders too proud, hands at 10 and 2 like a teacher. He didn't look up at the windows. He put the car in park, waited, then drove away. I took a picture of the taillights and realized I had become the same kind of archivist as Nora, harvesting proof I would not trust if it indicted me. At 2:14, Nora texted, "Sleep. Tomorrow 10 a.m., community center. Bring your list." "What list?" I wrote. "The one that stops me from making more pictures." The community center smelled like children and honest conflict. In a room that usually hosts yoga and grief, Nora had arranged chairs in a circle. On the whiteboard, in her careful hand, accountability circle, rules. Under it, no interrupting, no evidence without consent, no stories about a person who can tell their own. People I knew entered like actors cast as themselves. Marco, Sloane, 2 women from Nora's running group, Rhea with a pen.
Officer Menard, off duty, neutral as a clock. Nora opened the circle with the poise she uses when onboarding new clients. Evan and I need a surface stronger than our dining table. I want truth, including the part neither of us wants to say. She turned to me. Begin with the night, then go further back. I told it. Bed, dream, the heavy heat of next to, the lack of door sound. I told the morning call, the bank flags, the group chat, the highway still. I spoke the sentences as if a good reader could make them true. Ria wrote on a yellow pad like a court stenographer who likes me but respects language more. He's not asking us to decide. He's asking us to hear him say it with witnesses. Nora nodded. My turn. She described how she had learned to distrust the words "I'm here" when the person saying them kept evaporating under the daylight of chores. I stopped wanting a fight. I wanted a receipt. She showed the home app timeline. Only the timestamps, no video. She displayed a bank notification. Only the header, not the card number. She asked Menard to summarize the missing person protocol without mentioning my name. Sloan spoke about being the person who holds someone together after a confession landmine goes off. She said men look so relieved after telling, but the blast radius expands for weeks. Marco said, I believe both of you, and I hate that sentence. A woman from the running group said, jealousy is a verb. It does things when we are asleep. Ria said, say the thing you would hate for a stranger to say before a judge. I looked at Nora and saw that she was beyond angry and somewhere more mathematical. I said, I am a man who can be present without being available. I warmed up to the idea of being good and then demanded full credit. Silence came into the room like a friend. Nora wrote something on a card and held it in her lap. Thank you. And her thanks didn't sound like victory. Menard cleared her throat. If a person files a report in good faith and the person isn't missing, the worst thing that happens is paperwork. The best thing is that people make sure he isn't dead. It got people to move, Nora repeated from that first morning, and I heard no triumph, only fatigue. Sloan asked, what do you want the circle to do? Nora said, witness the agreement we're going to make. Ria said, write it down.
Counter receipts. The agreement began with verbs and ended with times. I will tell you when the part of me that leaves has woken up. I will not ask you to calibrate your love by how quietly you forgive me. I will attend to proof, but not worship it. I will stop making pictures when there are words that arrive on time. We signed. Rhea took photos of the paper with everyone's consent and sent them to the group chat with a caption that made me want to be better. Let's be as rigorous about repair as we were about the story. After the circle, Menard walked me to the door. Between you and me, she said, every missing person case is two cases. The one where the body went and the one where the person went before the body did. Try not to make me choose. I spent the afternoon building my counter receipts. I visited the bodega where the owner likes my too polite jokes. He let me scroll his camera and texted me a clip of myself buying a seltzer at 2:55 a.m. 2 nights ago. Me in slippers, hair wrong, eyes unbrave. I knocked on Mrs. Flores' door across the hall. She produced her doorbell camera with the pride of new technology and cued it to 1 to 4 a.m. The only visitor was a raccoon. We named him. He didn't answer to the name, which felt appropriate. I printed everything and labeled it like a child submitting a science project. Exhibit A, the man who buys seltzer at 2:55 a.m. Exhibit B, the raccoon with no alibi. Exhibit C, the mattress indent.
When Nora came home, I didn't set the packet on the table like legal papers. I handed it to her the way you hand someone a Polaroid of their face they're not sure they like. She looked through each page and placed her palm on the pile. "Thank you," she said. "Tonight I won't take pictures." "Tomorrow?" "We'll see if words arrive before I need to," she said.
Confession requires corners. The corner I'd been avoiding had a name, a street, and an elevator that never stopped at the right floor. Lena answered the door in a sweatshirt that belonged to no one in particular. She had the look of someone who finds calm by organizing drawers. "I'm here to ask for receipts," I said. "You want me to say we didn't, or that we did once, or that you cried after? Which truth fits the day's weather?" "The one that lets my wife stop making movies," I said. "And the one that doesn't turn you into the only plot point I can name." She let me in, poured water into glasses, and sat without posture. "You came to me because I sounded like admiration when you needed medicine. You were kind in the way patients are kind to nurses, because they want painkillers. I was lonely in the way nurses get lonely, because everyone wants the helpful part of you." "Do you hate me?" I asked. "I hate that you made me the quiet of your life," she said, "but I don't hate you." "Would you write a sentence? Not a character witness, just a detail that keeps the edit honest." She wrote, "We met 3 times for coffee, once for a mistake, never for a promise." She dated it, initialed it, and handed it to me like a cough drop. On my way out, she added, "Nora isn't wrong to make evidence. A camera is a way to tell your nervous system that you saw what you saw." Back home, Nora took the slip, read it twice, and put it in the folder without triumph. "This wasn't about her," she said. "It was about your capacity to draw breath and say, 'I left,' even if your shoes were on the mat." "I left," I said. The sentence felt smaller than the house, which is how you know it's probably true. She nodded. "Thank you. I can stop counting that one." "And the missing person report?" She smiled without showing teeth. "I'll close it tomorrow." "Will you tell them I was home?" She told them, "You came back," she said softly. When Nora closed the report, Officer Menard called to confirm details and offered an administrative smile I could hear over the phone. "We're marking it resolved," she said. "No foul play suspected." Afterward, Nora and I went to the storage unit she'd rented before I knew what it meant. She opened a small metal drawer and took out 2 tags like luggage claim checks. "Keep and return." She said, "Your choice." I placed in return the highway still, the gas station back of head, the door timeline printed at 200%, the mirror selfie I had taken to convince myself I existed. I kept the raccoon clip, the seltzer receipt, the single line from Lena, the circles agreement with the signatures that looked like people promising to arrive on time. We stood in the dim sorbet light of a row of units that all hum the same hum regardless of what's inside. Nora turned the keep tag over and wrote a sentence on the back. "Say the thing before the picture says it for you." She taped it inside the door. At home, we practiced. The first night, the practice went well. The second night, I lost to habit and tried to barter with silence. On the third night, I woke at 2:11 and found her awake beside me, eyes open to the ceiling. "I'm here," I said. "I know.
she said. My body knows too. Do you need me to prove it? Not tonight, she said. Just don't make me an archivist when you can be a witness. I slept, strangely, and dreamed a small bureaucrat stamping tiny forms that read, "Presents," in green ink. In the morning, I made coffee that tasted like the kind you drink while waiting for better coffee, and texted Marco the raccoon clip. He replied with a heart, then, "Name him already home." Sometimes the group chat still sends links. A think piece about missing men, an essay about how revenge is just grief with paperwork, a cat poster with my name in the wrong spelling. I answer with a picture of the tag taped inside our storage unit, and the sentence written over it in marker. Say it before the camera does it. When strangers ask what happened, I can see it on their faces when they do the math of a ring and a story. I say the smallest inventory that is still true. My wife reported me missing while I slept beside her. Everyone believed her. Both of those sentences make sense. We built receipts for our presents. Some days they stick to us. Some days we fall off the page and have to paste ourselves back in. I don't know if staying counts as proof, or if leaving would count more. I know only that tonight the door will open and close with ordinary sounds, and somewhere a raccoon with no alibi will cross a porch camera and become a harmless ghost. I will set my phone on the table like a truce and look up when Nora speaks. If she asks where I am, I will answer with a place and a verb. I am here. I am staying. I am learning to be seen.